You think she's coming back because she misses you, but she's not coming back for who you were. She's coming back to find out who you've become. Let that land for a second, because most men hear she's coming back and they immediately collapse into hope. They start rehearsing speeches. They start cleaning up the apartment. They start checking their phone every 20 minutes, like she's going to text them the answer to every question they've been drowning in for the last 3 months. And the moment she does reach out, the moment that first message hits, something in them lights up like a circuit board, and every single wall they built comes crashing down before she even finishes the sentence. That is not strength. That is starvation responding to the smell of food. And if you're watching this right now and that sentence stung a little, good. That means you're in the right place, because what I'm about to walk you through is not the kind of content that's going to tell you what you want to hear. It's going to tell you what you need to hear. And those two things are almost never the same. If this channel is new to you, hit subscribe right now. Not for me, for you. Because the stuff I'm going to keep putting out on this channel is designed to cut through the noise, cut through the fantasy, and hand you the kind of clarity that most men never get, because nobody in their life is willing to say the hard thing out loud. You need a place that tells you the truth, and this is it. Subscribe so you don't miss it when you need it most. Now, let's talk about what's actually happening when a woman comes back. Here's the thesis. Here is the thing that nobody says clearly enough, and it costs men months, sometimes years, of their lives because they operate on the wrong map. When a woman comes back, she is not returning to give you something. She is returning to take stock of what exists. She is running a quiet, instinctual assessment. She is checking the temperature of the room. She is scanning the environment for information. And the information she is looking for is this: did he change, or did he just wait? Those are two completely different things, and which one you are will determine everything about what happens next. Let's start with the misconception, because it runs deep and it runs hard. And if you don't see it clearly, it will wreck you every single time. The misconception is this: you believe that her coming back is the reward. You believe that the fact she reached out, the fact she texted, the fact she showed up or called or slid back into your social media with a like on a photo you posted 6 weeks ago, you believe that is the finish line. You've been running the race, and in your mind, her return is the trophy you've been sprinting toward. So the moment she signals any kind of re-entry, you stop running, you stop building, you stop doing the work on yourself. You throw open the gates and you say, finally, come back in, everything is forgiven, I've been waiting right here. That's called emotional dependency, dressed up as loyalty. And here's the hard truth that lives directly underneath that misconception. Her coming back is not the reward. Her coming back is the test. Read that again. Sit with it. Her coming back is not the reward. Her coming back is the test. She is not returning with an apology gift and a changed heart and a guarantee that everything will be different this time. She is returning with curiosity. She is returning, in many cases, with confusion. She left for a reason, or she watched things fall apart for a reason, or she pulled back for a reason. And somewhere in her system, that reason has not been fully resolved. And so she comes back, consciously or unconsciously, to resolve it, to get information, to see whether the answer has changed. And if you crumble the moment she knocks, if you rush to the door and swing it wide open and practically beg her to come inside before she's even told you why she's there, you have just answered the test. And the answer you gave was the wrong one. Why does this happen? Why do men do this? Why do intelligent, decent, capable men fall apart the moment a woman they cared about shows the slightest sign of returning? Because you were never taught what the return actually means. You were taught through movies and music and years of cultural programming that love is about pursuit and reunion, that the romantic thing to do is to wait, that the patient man who holds space and stays soft and keeps the door open is the one who wins in the end. You were sold a story where the woman leaving and then coming back is the climax, the beautiful redemption arc, the proof that it was all worth it. That story is a lie, or at the very least, it is dangerously incomplete. because that story does not account for the version of you that exists in the real world. The version who has needs, who has been hurt, who has his own psychological patterns running underneath everything. The version who may have genuinely contributed to why things broke down in the first place. That story treats you like a prop in her narrative, rather than a man with his own full, complex interior life that is worth protecting and worth developing and worth being held accountable to. The real story is not about her returning. The real story is about what you do with the time between her leaving and her coming back. And more importantly, what you do in the moment she shows up again. Let's talk about what it costs you when you get this wrong, because I want you to feel the weight of this, not as punishment, but as fuel. When you collapse back into her the moment she returns, when you abandon the progress you made, when you put your phone down in the middle of your workout to answer her text within 4 seconds, when you cancel your plans, when you go quiet on your friends, when you stop going to the gym and start sitting by the window waiting for updates, when you negotiate your self-respect for the feeling of having her back, here is what you lose. You lose the version of yourself she might have actually wanted. Think about that. The version of you who was growing, who was building, who was focused, who was unbothered by her absence, not because you didn't care, but because you had a life that was bigger than any single person's approval. That version of you was magnetic. That version of you was exactly what her instincts were checking for when she decided to come back. And the second you collapse, you delete him. You erase the very thing that might have been working in your favor, and you replace it with the exact version of you that made her question the relationship in the first place. That is not a small thing. That is a devastating own goal. And it doesn't just cost you the woman, it costs you yourself. Because every time you abandon your standards in response to someone else's reinterest, you train your nervous system to believe that your worth is negotiable. You teach yourself that all someone has to do is show up, and you will rearrange everything to accommodate them. You reinforce the pattern that says your peace, your progress, your plans are secondary to the emotional needs of someone who hasn't even demonstrated consistency yet. That's called conditioning yourself out of your own dignity, and it has to stop. Now let's talk about what actually happens inside her when she decides to come back, because understanding this is not about strategy. It's not about playing games. It's about having the full picture so you can respond from a place of clarity instead of a place of hunger. When a woman leaves, there is a period, and this varies enormously in length and intensity, but there is a period where she is processing. She is grieving in her own way. She is questioning the decision, revisiting moments, rationalizing, and somewhere in that process, she may start to feel the absence of you more than she expected. She may start to compare the reality of life without you to the fantasy of something better she was chasing. She may encounter evidence that the grass was not greener. She may simply miss the specific texture of who you were in her life. And that feeling, that pull, that gravitational tug back toward you, that is real. I am not dismissing it. That feeling is genuine, but it is not the same as her having done the work necessary to make things different this time. The feeling is real. The preparation is often not there yet. This matters. This matters enormously. Because feelings are not commitments. Feelings are data points. Her feeling drawn back to you is information, valuable information, but it is not a contract. It is not a guarantee. It is not proof that the thing that broke is fixed. It is proof that she is human and that she felt something real with you and that the absence of it is uncomfortable. Your job when she comes back is not to rush to remove her discomfort. Your job is to stay in your own frame long enough to find out whether there is something real and changed and sustainable here, or whether this is just the gravity of familiarity pulling two people back into the same dynamics that didn't work the first time. And you can only do that job if you are standing in yourself when she arrives. Now, I want to describe a man to you. I want to paint him clearly because I think you need to see the picture of what this actually looks like when a man gets it right. Not a perfect man, not some fantasy of stoic indifference, a real man who has done the work, work and who carries himself accordingly. This man, when she comes back, is not in a hurry. He is not in a hurry because he is not waiting for her. He has not been waiting for her. He has been living. He has been building. He has been in the gym, not to look good for her return, but because his health is a commitment he made to himself, and he does not break commitments to himself. He has been working on his goals, not to impress her, but because his vision for his life did not pause when she left. He has been going out with his friends, having real conversations, laughing at real things, experiencing real moments that exist entirely outside of her orbit. This man has a full life, and a full life has its own gravitational field. When she texts him, he feels something. Let me be clear about that, because emotional numbness is not the goal here. He feels something. There is a warmth, a recognition, a memory of what existed between them. But the feeling does not commandeer him. The feeling does not make him drop everything and sprint back into the dynamic before he's had a chance to think. He sits with the feeling. He breathes. He responds when he is ready, in his own time, from his own energy, not from urgency, not from relief, not from desperation. He asks questions instead of making speeches. He listens carefully, not for signs of whether she still loves him, but for signs of whether she has grown. He watches how she handles herself. He notices whether she's taking accountability for her part in what happened, or whether she's gliding past the hard conversation and heading straight toward comfort and chemistry, as though the history didn't happen. And if she tries to skip the hard conversation, he does not skip with her, not because he is cold, not because he is punishing her, but because he understands that warmth without honesty is not connection. It is repetition. It is the same script with the same ending. This man has boundaries. Not rules he found on a forum, not calculated moves designed to make her chase him, but genuine personal standards that exist because he has thought carefully about what kind of relationship he is willing to participate in and what kind he is not. He knows what is acceptable to him. He knows what is not. And he communicates that with calm directness, without drama, without aggression, without the trembling anger of a man who's been waiting for the chance to say it. He is grounded. He is clear. He is neither desperate nor dismissive. He is present without being consumed. He is open without being reckless. He is warm without being weak. That man is attractive, not strategically attractive, not performing attractiveness, actually attractive, genuinely magnetic, because he is a complete person who is not looking to be completed by her return. And here is the most important thing about this man. He is available to you right now, not as a finished product, not after some transformation is complete, but as a direction you can choose to move in starting today. That version of you is not out of reach. He is just waiting for you to stop abandoning him every time someone from your past shows up at the door. So let's talk about what you actually do. Let's make this practical and tight because you need actions, not just concepts. First, you stop treating her return as a resolution. The moment you feel that surge of relief when she comes back, you name it. You say to yourself, I feel relieved. And then you ask yourself, why do I need this to feel okay? Because relief is only necessary when you've been in pain. And if her absence was putting you in that much pain, that is information about your state, not just about your feelings for her. You are allowed to want her back. You are not allowed to need her back in order to function. Those are different things, and the difference is everything. Second, you do not renegotiate your standards to make it easier for her to return. You do not lower the bar. You do not pretend the thing that happened did not happen. You do not absorb her discomfort so that the re-entry feels smooth. You allow there to be friction, productive friction. The friction of two people who are being honest with each other about what went wrong and what needs to be different. If she is not willing to engage with that friction, if she wants all the warmth and connection and intimacy without the accountability and repair, that is a critical piece of information. Do not ignore it. Third, you keep the life you built while she was gone. Do not dismantle it. Whatever you started doing when she left, whether it was training harder, working on a project, spending more time with people who matter, deepening a skill, building something, you keep doing it. Not to prove a point, because it is yours now. You built it. It belongs to your life, and your life does not get restructured every time someone decides they want to be part of it again. Fourth, you move at your own pace. You do not rush toward the future she might be painting. You do not start talking about what this could be before you have a clear-eyed view of what this is right now, in this moment, based on actual evidence, not potential, not chemistry, not the warm memory of what you used to have. Chemistry is not a plan. Potential is not a track record. Evidence is what you look for. Fifth, you ask the honest question out loud. At the right time, in the right moment, you say it directly. You ask what changed. You ask what she is bringing that is different. You ask, plainly and without apology, what she is looking for and whether she has thought clearly about what she is offering. Not as a cross-examination, but as a conversation between two people who are both serious enough about this to be honest. If that question makes her pull back, that is her answer. And her answer is useful. Sixth, you stay connected to your own emotional truth. If you are hurt, you acknowledge it privately and to trusted people in your life. You do not perform invulnerability. You do not pretend the last few months didn't leave a mark, but you also do not weaponize your pain or perform it in front of her as a way of making her feel guilty enough to stay. That is not honesty. That is manipulation, and it will not get you what you actually want. Seventh, you decide. At some point, you decide. Not based on how much you want her, not based on fear of being alone, not based on the chemistry when she's sitting next to you. You decide based on a clear-eyed, honest, sober assessment of whether this woman, in her current state, with the current pattern of behavior she is demonstrating, is someone you genuinely want to build something with. And if the answer is yes, you commit with your eyes open. And if the answer is no, or not yet, or I don't know enough yet, you honor that answer, even if it is uncomfortable, even if it means another stretch of distance, even if it is hard, because the man you are becoming is someone who tells himself the truth. And telling yourself the truth is the most radical act of self-respect available to you. Let's pull back for a moment and look at the bigger picture, because this is about more than one woman and more than one reunion. This is about a pattern. The pattern is this. You have probably been taught, directly or indirectly, that love is about sacrifice and endurance. That if you love someone hard enough and wait long enough and absorb enough pain, it will eventually translate into something that lasts. That the measure of your love is how much you are willing to bend, how much you are willing to forgive before forgiveness is even asked for, how quickly you are willing to return to warmth when someone signals that they want to come back in from the cold. That is not love. That is compliance dressed up as devotion. Real love, the kind that builds something, the kind that has weight and longevity and actual value to both people. Real love requires two people who are capable of being honest with each other and with themselves. It requires two people who have enough self-respect that they will not accept terms that violate their own dignity, not because they don't care, but precisely because they do. Because they understand that a relationship built on one person's constant accommodation and another person's unchecked freedom is not a partnership. It is an arrangement, and arrangements collapse when one party stops finding them convenient. You deserve a partnership, not an arrangement, not a cycle, not a recurring pattern where she leaves when it's uncomfortable and returns when she's lonely, and you receive her without question both times because you have decided somewhere deep in your system that her presence is worth more than your peace. You deserve more than that. And somewhere inside you, you know that. The problem is that knowing is not enough. Knowing and doing are separated by a gap that is filled entirely with discomfort. The discomfort of saying no when you want to say yes. The discomfort of maintaining distance when everything in you wants to close it. The discomfort of prioritizing your long-term dignity over your short-term relief. That gap, that distance between knowing and doing is where growth lives. And every time you cross it, you become a little more of the man you are capable of being. This is the moment. Not when it is comfortable, not when it is easy, not when she has already given you every signal that everything is going to be okay. Right now, in the uncertainty, in the pull, in the hunger, and the hope, and the fear of getting it wrong again, right now is when the choice matters. You are not the man who waits. You are the man who builds. You are not the man who collapses when she comes back. You are the man who stands with enough sureness in himself that she has to meet him where he is, instead of him rushing to meet her wherever she happens to be standing at this moment. You are not the man who defines himself by whether she stays. You are the man whose life has a direction that exists entirely independent of her decision. You are not broken. You are not unlucky. You are not the victim of her choices. You are a man who is in the process of becoming clearer, stronger, more grounded, more honest with himself, more capable of love that is actually healthy and sustainable and mutual. She is not the answer to the question you've been asking. You are. Read that again. She is not the answer to the question you've been asking. You are. The question was always about your worth, about your value, about whether you are enough. And the answer to that question will never be found in whether she comes back or stays or chooses you. It will only ever be found in the choices you make, the standards you hold, the commitments you keep with yourself, the life you build, the man you choose to be on the days when no one is watching and there is no one to impress. That man, the one you are choosing to become in this moment, is the answer. He is enough. You are enough. Not when she confirms it, not when the relationship is repaired, not when some future version of your life looks the way you hoped. Right now, as you are, in the work, in the process, in the choice to do this differently, you are enough. And if today was the day that started to land, if this was the thing that finally cut through and gave you a frame that makes sense, then do one thing right now. Hit subscribe, because this is a channel for men who are done lying to themselves, men who want the truth even when the truth is uncomfortable, men who are willing to do the work because they have decided that the life they are building is worth protecting. Every week, I put out content designed to give you exactly this kind of clarity. Not motivation that evaporates by Tuesday, not empty hype, real frameworks, real truth, real tools for becoming the kind of man who navigates life, relationships, and himself with integrity and power. You belong here. This community is built for men who are choosing themselves, not out of bitterness, not out of ego, but out of genuine self-respect and a commitment to something better. You are not alone in this. There are men watching this right now who felt exactly what you felt reading that first line. Men who are in the same moment, facing the same choice, doing the same work. Subscribe, stay. Let's build this together. You've got this. Now go act like it.